Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today on Wednesday, October 7th for our virtual Leading Edge workshop featuring Erin Bemis. She is a Google supported trainer and a great friend of the Chamber. She's up in Northern Michigan, and I think she's going to have a lot of great things for you to take away back to implement for your business to help gain some good exposure and reach your customers on Google. So my name is Colleen Skipsey, and I am the event manager here at the West Coast Chamber of Commerce. Looks like people are already starting to use the chat feature, which is great. So you can feel free to introduce yourselves there, have conversations throughout the presentation. And then if you have any specific questions for Erin, make sure to add those in there, and I'll kind of be on the lookout for those and kind of just stop and go as we see any questions come up. So just want to send a quick thank you to our Business Builder lead sponsor, which is Economic Development Foundation. They are a great partner of the Chamber, and we're able to help support this program to make it at no charge for our members, which is great. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Erin. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Colleen, and the rest of the Chamber team for having me. I'm really excited to be with you guys today. This is one of my favorite presentations from the Grow with Google collection, if you will, because we talk about so many different things in here. So I actually like to do questions along the way. So the way this presentation is set up, there's 3 natural breaks. So I think I'll stop after each little section before I dive into the next and address any questions at that point on the things that we've just discussed before moving forward. And then of course, we can hang out as long afterward as Colleen will let us to do any Q&A afterward as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn off my camera so you guys can focus on the slides and get my screen up here for you. So just 1 second while we get rolling. Okay, all of you should be able to see the screen with the title slide on it. And if you guys are ready, I'm ready too. One thing before I really dive in, there's a couple things to take care of. One is that we are in the process of collecting news stories and successful moments from new small businesses. What are we going to do with these stories? Well, we're working on our advertising, we're working on our website, we're working on revamping some of our presentations, working on some brand new presentations to come out in 2021. And we'd love to highlight some new businesses. So if you might want to be one of these, this is how you can do that. So send me an email after today's presentation at erin@erinbemis.com and just answer a couple of questions. One, tell us about you and your business, what you do, and then you can either talk about what you've learned today that's going to help you think in the future, or something else entirely that's Google related that has helped your business be successful. And then what tools have you used? So what kind of products and whatnot are in there? And of course, if you have social handles or videos or links that you want to include to provide extra oomph to it, please do so. So that's my first little plug. Next, I want to tell you a little bit about me. You saw my face, so you know I'm a live person, but I think it's kind of fun to know the personality a little bit of the person who's presenting. And I've worked with you guys before, so maybe you've seen me through Constant Contact or even Google a couple of years ago. We've done some different presentations over the years with all of you. But if you need a refresher or just a reminder, or you're brand new to me, here's a little bit about me. My website is listed here for one specific reason. It's where I keep all of our upcoming trainings listed. So if you'd like to attend another session like this one, all free of charge, you can find the complete list there. So that's why I've got that section. And of course, this is me. I've been with the Grow with Google program now since 2017. And time just flies, and it's really fun. It takes me all over the place and gets to work with a wide array of small business owners like yourselves and just hopefully make a difference, right? And let you know that you're not alone and let you know that things are constantly changing, and hopefully try and debunk some myths and give you some new tips and tricks to be successful in your digital marketing. This picture is me with most of my siblings. I do tend to talk a little fast. That's why I mentioned them here. I'm one of 13, so it comes very natural for me to speak fast. I'm pretty good at regulating it now because of what I do professionally, but sometimes I still skip ahead a little bit. So don't be afraid to ask me to repeat something. It's just part of my gig. Colleen mentioned I live in Charlevoix, so here in northern Michigan, this is what I normally look like the bulk of the year, all bundled in the hill. And this is my husband and I, and today is our 20th wedding anniversary. Hard to believe that we've survived that, especially being small business owners ourselves. Between he and I, we own 3 small businesses, so we understand literally what it takes for all the different components that many of you feel on a day-to-day basis. Together, we have 3 stinky teenage boys who are the loves and the lights of my life. They're also the source of every gray hair on my head. Addison is 19, almost 20, and is at his 2nd year of school down in Ohio. Jackson is a senior. He just turned 18 earlier in the week. And Garrett, our youngest, is a junior, rocking in right behind there at almost 17 now. So lots of activity in our lives. And, you know, I work so that I can live. That's my passion and goal. And I love to travel. I feel like there's so much of the world to see. That's what that's what makes my soul happy and makes it sing. And ultimately, I shouldn't be on the ski hill like I am on the left. I really should be on the beach like I am on the right. And, you know, a little shout out to that tornado. I wish it were just a tornado. The hurricane that just rolled through Cancun, that is my happy place. That's where that photo's from. And that just makes me sad. But here's our agenda for today. That should answer a couple of questions for you getting rolling. We're going to talk about how Google actually helps businesses reach customers and how Google actually works. I feel like there's some pieces on the backside of Google that not everyone really understands. So I want to give us a baseline understanding of that. Then I'm going to dig into my favorite part, which is the middle. It's kind of what I call the kitchen sink or the crock pot part. And this is where we're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk about SEO. We're going to talk about your website organization. We're going to talk about social media and email marketing, a little bit of everything in there. And then the last section is going to be a little sneak peek as to how you can easily manage and set up your own Google advertising. A couple more things to point out before I actually dive into the real meat. One, I have all of these slides ready for you in a PDF that I will send to Colleen as follow-up. So she will be able to get that out to you. You will have access to all of it. 2, I see that it's being recorded, so you should probably have that as a resource as well. 3, I have a slide at the end that will have all of the website links that I'm going to give you during this presentation. I have a lot of URLs and direct access points for you to get more information on different components. And it's all in one slide at the end, so I will bring that up. And as I mentioned, we'll do questions along the way. So with that, let's dive in and talk about how Google can actually help customers and help businesses connect to customers. So if we were in a live audience, I'd be asking you here, how many of you have made a large purchase in the last year, like a car or a television or a vacuum cleaner, which seems to be way more expensive than the last time I bought one? That's my current research project. Most of us are starting our research now by visiting online. And so I want you to think about your online presence as the front door to your business, because so many consumers are searching online first before they make purchases. And I'll bet that many of you are the same way. And sometimes we're doing it without even actually truly realizing that that's what we're doing. So maybe you're doing price shopping, or maybe you're looking at warranties or shipping expenses if it's something that you can't purchase locally. Most likely you're looking at reviews. Consumer reviews are so important to us, and I find it very interesting how trusting we are as strangers when it comes to the reviews. So when you have that front door frame of mind on your web presence, and I say web presence because it's everything. It's your social media, your website, your email, your everything. It's really important that it gives off the sense of your personality, along with being able to answer the question or the demand or the need of the consumer in that moment, because that's how they're making decisions. The great news is that 85% of all transactions, even though we're researching online, are still happening in local stores. And for those of us in small communities especially, really important for that. So the first thing that I want you guys to understand is that when you're doing a Google search, you're not actually searching the entire web. You're just searching Google's index of the web. The good news for you is that Google happens to be the largest search engine that's out there, so it's got the most resources in it. But what I want you to do is think about the web as this gigantic library filled with billions and billions and billions of books. And a book would be like a website, right? And then pages of that book would represent the pages on your website. The tricky thing is that there's no card catalog like we used to have in the Dewey Decimal System. And so the trick is, how does all the information get from all of those pages into all of the books and into the index, right? Think about it from the website. So this is where Googlebot comes in. Googlebot is Google's crawler, and it goes through and follows links from page to page across website to website, sends all of that information back to Google's index so that Google can produce what hopefully are the right results for the consumer search query. So all this information in all the indexes, think of the index on Google like that index in the card system that we used to have in libraries. And so that every time that person searches Google, Google goes through its little cards and finds the right answers and pops it out for you. Now there's lots of searches happening. There's more than 1 trillion every year, and that's with the T. I spoke very clearly on that one. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around that, so I want to put it in a little bit of perspective. I just snapped my fingers. That's 40,000 searches. For every second, there are 40,000 searches on Google alone. So for each of the corresponding search result pages, how did Google figure out which pages should be displayed and what kind of resources it's going to list? Well, that's where the algorithm comes into play. And the algorithm, sure by now you guys know that, it's a gigantic formula. And this one for Google has over 200 factors, or what Google calls signals. And so it's all sorts of different things. And we're going to talk about those in detail in the beginning of the next section. But the signals are things like basic criteria. It's the language spoken. It's the location of the searcher, as well as the location of the business sometimes as well. It includes things like what type of device is being used and how fast that service is. There's things like the age of the content on the web pages and the relevance to the search query. Does the information on the website match what the person is actually looking for? And is it going to provide a good user experience, which lays into organization and all sorts of other things? Again, I'm going to go into way more detail than I think you'll probably even want in a couple of slides. So let's start by taking a look at a search results page. You guys have all seen this. You've all done Google. You type in something and you get responses. So there's a couple of things here that I think are some factoids for you that I think would help. One, each little collection of information, if you will, the blue bar, the green bar, and the 2 gray bars represent what's called a snippet in the tech world. And the first part of the snippet is the URL. That's the actual website. The second is the green bar. That's a page title. And they're not blue and green on your search. I just did that to make it a little easier here for our eyes when we're looking at it. And then you have 2 lines of descriptions. Now over on the right, you'll see what is the business profile from Google. It is a free tool called Google My Business, the Google Business Profile, available for almost every small business that's out there for free from Google. And I'll talk about this just a touch. If you don't manage your profile or you haven't claimed it, that's how you can't edit it. Sometimes you'll do a search and you'll actually find yourself and you're like, wait, I didn't claim it. I didn't manage it. It's because Google's found enough information for you on the web already that it has created a starter page. And it's your job to go in and claim it so that you can then go in and manage the information and make sure that it's all correct and up to date. It's a great feature to help you stand out from all the other searches that are listed on the left-hand side. Now, when you do a search results page, you're probably going to run across ads as well. And you've already seen the agenda, so you know we're going to talk about this at the end. But the shopping ads are the visual images across the top, and then the text ads are highlighted with a sticker that says add next to it. And I think you'll probably have noticed over the last few months that there was a change so that now that add button is even more bold and standoutish, if you will. The trick with text ads is that they appear, the business that's running that ad does not get charged unless you actually click on it. So if you are looking for another local business for information and they have an ad running, but their website is the next snippet right below it, click on the one that's not going to cost them money, right? Excuse me. So next, I want to give you a little marketing nugget. And because content and keywords are so important in that algorithm that we're discussing, I want to point out the related searches. So down at the bottom of a search results page, I'm sure you guys have seen this again, but it's called the related searches. Well, what it is the words that you typed into your search query. In the related searches, it's going to show you other words or phrases that different people have plugged in looking for similar things to you. So what does this mean for you if you're a small business owner? Well, that means that you have marketing gold because you have some insight here. What other keywords are people using? What other phrases are they using? Those are words and phrases that you should probably incorporate into your website and your content as well. So that's the end of section 1. Let me pop back into my thing here and see if we have any questions so far. I guess I have to stop sharing. So Colleen, if you can.
Yeah, I don't see any questions right now. So if anyone has any specific questions around what Erin just covered, make sure to throw that in the chat real quick here, and I'll make sure to ask them.
Awesome. Okay, I'll go ahead and just go to the next one, and then we can stop again and ask, and I'll just do it this way for the next section.
Perfect.
Okay, so now that we've talked about how Google actually works, let's talk about that business profile and how critical that information is for the searches. So another key factor for the business profiles is that this is how your business gets a little red pin on Google Maps. This is how you get found. So Google My Business does not replace a website. I want to be very clear. But it can help your profile stand out in all of the other search results and drive people to your location. So it's optimized for all sorts of different devices, so it will look a little bit different, which is kind of what you're seeing on the screen here. If someone's on their mobile phone or on a computer. And what is it going to do? It's going to help you control the information that is displayed through general searches. So things like business hours, contact information, your store location. You can upload photos and videos. You have options to schedule. If you are a service-based industry where you have appointments or classes that people can sign up for, it's things like yoga studios, maybe like here, or a hair salon, or maybe even a plumber. That if you are using a third-party scheduling tool, you can connect that to your business profile as well, so that people can book directly through there. They don't even have to go to your website to book an appointment, things like that that make it consistent and easy for the consumers to get in touch with you. There are also features in there like posts. You can add photos. Your videos can go in your photo section as well, so up to 30 seconds worth of video. We all know that photos are worth 1,000 words. Well, how much is a video worth? An awful lot. Excuse me again. I talk a lot to myself, and this is what we get on the backside. So I want to spend a good chunk of time on this slide. We'll be here for a hot minute, and we're going to be talking about SEO, those organic search engine results. That how do you get there? I want to really try and give you a few specific, but basically non-technical tips that should help you out. These are all those components that are going to tie us back to the algorithm that I mentioned. So as I mentioned earlier, there's over 200 signals that go into the algorithm that Google's looking at when it's rating your website, giving you a score, if you will, to pop up in the organic results. So the difference between organic and paid, again, just to be very clear, is that organic is the results that show up with without the advertising dollars behind it, right? You're paying if you're running an ad to be at the top. Organic is when you're going to get to the top without paying. So that's where the SEO really comes in. There are 3 components that are consistently at the top of the importance in terms of the weight, if you will, within the algorithm for Google. It is content, it is location, and it is your topic. So location has 2 different sides to it. It is both the location of you or your product, and also the the location of the consumer doing the search. For instance, you might be in Holland and I'm here in Charlevoix. And if I type in restaurants near me, I'm going to get results around Charlevoix. You're going to get results around Holland, unless I specifically say restaurants in Holland, because I know I'm coming there in a couple of weeks, right? And so I want to plan and I'm going to pick out and make a reservation, especially given the times that we're in now. I know that I probably need a reservation, right? So that location is super important. But the biggest thing that always carries the most weight is relevant original content. I can't tell you enough how important your content of your website is when it comes to SEO. And it also needs to be new content. The more often that you can publish new information to your website, the higher your SEO will be. There's no question about that. So the question often comes up when I say this of, well, how often do I have to update my website then? There's no magic touch. The key is consistently and as often as you can. If you haven't updated your website in a year, Google's probably not even looking at you. There's so many other things that are out there. If you can go from updating once a year to updating once a quarter, that's a really big jump for you, and that will definitely help. But you'll get significantly more traction if you can do it once a month, because once a month is 3 times the frequency of once a quarter, right? What if you could do it once a week? Wouldn't that be amazing that you're putting out fresh content and it's going to help boost your SEO by just changing something once a week? And when I say content, it doesn't have to be words. Don't go thinking that I'm making you write a whole new paragraph. I'm not. Content can also be videos. Content can also be photos if you have them tagged correctly, and we'll talk about that too. But fresh content is so important. So I recommend to you that you make an appointment on your calendar. If you can do it every day, awesome, good on you. I can't do that. That's just not in my capabilities. I mean, I technically probably could, but then I wouldn't get anything else done, right? I have one website that we manage. As I mentioned, my husband and I are small business owners ourselves. I have one that is stagnant, and I go in and just rotate photos once a quarter because that's really all it needs. It's really there because of a technicality of something. I needed a website for something else, so that's where it is. I have another one of ours that, and of course I do all of this because my husband does other stuff. This one falls in my wheelhouse. And our second one is something that I go in and update, I would say about every 10 days. It's fresh and on a regular, consistent basis. There's new stuff that comes out that we need to put on it. But the other one, not so much. And then my other one, which is mine, the erinbemis.com, gets updated at minimum once a week. It's probably closer to once every 3 days because I'm constantly shifting and adding new presentations or something has completed and come off. So do whatever works for you, find your rhythm, but make an appointment on your calendar for whatever it is that rhythm is that you need. I have it scheduled out on that once a quarter. If it's not on my calendar, I'm not going to do it. And I tend to forget about that one because it is more stagnant. It's an appointment on my calendar that I stick to. I block off an hour, I make the edits, I'm good to go. I think of it just like the importance of meeting with my accountant or my attorney. So make sure you're working on that. Logical organization comes to the ease of which consumers can find the information on your website. So this is where we're talking about the Bad Country line dance is the example that I like to give here. You've all been to a website like this where they have all your options are kind of like in a nice little banner across the top, and then you hover over the option that you want and a drop down comes out and it's got 15 choices, and then you have to scroll down and you want the one that's third from the bottom, And then you hover over that and boom, there's another pop out to the right. And it's got another 10 choices. And then you hover over the one there and, oh, wait, I moved my mouse and I have to start over. It's confusing. And if it's irritating, your consumers will bounce without even blinking an eye because somebody else has got it easier than you have it. So make it as easy as possible for your consumer to find the information that they're looking for. If you're a nonprofit, maybe that's how to donate or what donation options you have. Like I'm thinking about like a community foundation has so many different realms and pieces on how they could collect donors or how potential earners might actually access that same information if they're giving grants or scholarships or things like that. Two totally different mindsets to be able to focus on and present in a website. Think like your consumer when you're putting your information together and lay it out in a good organizational way. The other thing that you really need to think about when you're laying out your website is that you want your most important information at the top. So if the goal for your website is to get people to call you, let's say you're a plumber, right? And so your website is, your phone number is the most important thing on your website because that's how people get a hold of you to come fix the shower that exploded in the middle of the night, right? That's a really big thing. Then your phone number really should be what we call above the scroll. So if you think back, I'm not sure the ages of all of my attendees here, but some of us used to read newspapers and all of the important information used to be above the fold. It's the same thing online. And this is the same for your email. It's the same for your social. It's the same for your website, like we're talking about here. Whatever that important call to action piece is that you're trying to accomplish should be prominently displayed at the top. So again, if you're trying to get people to call, phone number at the top. If you're trying to get people to sign up for something, that sign up button should be clearly marked separately from other things that you have there to prominently display that information. Bulleted list, you'll notice I use bullets a lot in this presentation. It's because it helps make text more readable. It's very organized and kind of simple and breaking it down. I'm actually working with a local school district right now on some communication strategies, and I recommended that they take their quote unquote letters, or they call them notes from so-and-so when they come out in the email, and it's just 2 pages worth of reading. You guys, I know there's a lot of information in there. Let's try a bullet. And so she writes a quick little intro and a quick little closing and put all the information into bullets. And she called me last week and said, I can't believe how many emails that I got thanking me for the easy way to disseminate that information. And it was, yeah, bullets are easy. I recommend them significantly. I've already kind of talked about updating your information and your content, but I didn't really focus on the image section. And so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. Why can images be content? Well, images are going to count as content if you have them alt tagged. And I'm saying that very clear and slow, and I'm going to say it again. Alt tag or alt text. So these are things, if you do this in email marketing, it's the same thing on your website. If you're unfamiliar with it, alt tags are what the software reads for an image. Alt tags originally were created for those that were visually impaired and used software to read for them. Well, it's the same premise. Now Googlebot and all the other web crawlers that are out there are using the same alt tags and alt text to know what the image is, and that's where it counts as content. So to go in and do that, you want to go into your photo section on your website or your gallery, and then one of the options should be an alt tag or alt text. This is now a thing for social media sites as well. I saw that on the biggest one that's out there not that long ago, that now they are also alt tagging photos. Think of it not like a caption. It's like what your grandmother would have written on the back of a photo if you pulled it out of a photo album. It's not visible on the actual website to the consumer. It's just the code stuff on the back and why that's important. It's also really important to make sure that your page titles and descriptions, I didn't mention this one, I kind of skipped over it. I'm going to hop a minute and go back to that. This is where I see a lot of smaller businesses, especially getting tripped up in the web world, is that often we will have people design our websites for us, and then we do the updates on our own. Very common, still a good practice. Don't let me think that I'm steering you away from that. But if you go through and make a bunch of edits to your website, make sure that you are going onto the back end and making sure that your page titles and descriptions still match the content on that page. Because if the content is different than what the page title is, Googlebot looks for that too. And that could go back to the file and say, there's something wrong with this one. It's not as relevant, and that relevancy is key. So you want to make sure and do that. Back to images, there's a little tricky because digital images have two different types of sizes. So when you're using the size that's most optimized for the web, you want to make sure you're using the right one. The first one is called the file size. And a larger file size usually means that it's a higher quality photo. The trade-off is that it can also slow down how fast it loads. So if you're using a digital camera, even if it's just from your phone, your image size might be too many megabytes. So you want to make sure that you're doing it as small as you can. In this case, I'd recommend that you use a software to shrink it down before you put it into your website. There's a lot of softwares out there. You can just Google that and they'll find one that'll do it for free and easily and get you in the right size. The second component, the image size to mention, are the dimensions. And so for the web, dimensions are measured in pixels. Without getting too technical on you, if you make an image smaller, the dimensions will go smaller. But if you make an image bigger, the dimensions will also get bigger, which means it can make it blurry or pixelated. So you don't want that either. So be careful when you're doing those two different things with your images. The optimized load time too, this is a good spot to talk about that because of how important it is for your photos to load fast in your videos and just your website in general as this next little component, because the probability of bounce, and a bounce is an action when someone comes to your website and leaves without taking any action at all. They come, they go. They didn't move their mouse, they didn't click on anything, they didn't read something. The probability of a bounce increases by 32% if a page load time goes from 1 second to 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3. That's a 32% chance you've got a bounce. So you want to make sure that your load time is really, really as good as it can be, and that you're spending time actually assessing that and looking at what it goes. And one thing to note too, it's even harder for mobile devices when it comes to bounces, 53%. So over half of visits are abandoned if a mobile site takes longer than 3 seconds to load. So check these things out in different components, check them out on different devices, make sure that you're always looking at things on an Android and on an Apple, on a desktop and a tablet, and from different places, right? It's not always the user speed, it's often the web speed in general. I know that was a lot of information on one slide, but now I've got some things that are going to help you, some tools that will help you to make these things better. Pardon me while I take a sip along the way. So the first tool to give you is g.co/testmysite. And what this is, it's a tool, it's on your phone. You can do it right now if you want while we're here. You plug in your URL and it will give you some tips and tricks on how to do things better. So, you know, all of those conversions that we were just talking about and the importance and the 53% on the mobile thing, well, that's all about your load time. So you can check the speed of your website by trying out the Test My Site tool. It will go through and give you suggestions on what to make better after it evaluates your site. So it'll generate a report for you. It'll give you very specific suggestions on things that you can work on to help your optimization. The next is Search Console. This is another tool that's going to help your website appear in the organic results. Search Console used to be called Webmaster Tools. So if you've been around digital marketing for a while, this is the same product, this is a new updated, modified, modern version. So a couple of things that you can do with Search Console is that you can make sure that Google can access your site. You can submit new content. You can remove content that you don't want shown in the search results. So if it's information that you have on your website, but you don't necessarily want it to pop up when someone's searching something random, you can hide it. You can monitor your site for problems. It will see things. If you have one of those dreaded 404 errors, or the can't find file things, or you have a link that's not working, or a photo or a video that's not loading, it will tell you all of those things. What this does, Search Console shows you how Google and the rest of the world, quote unquote, sees your website. So what is it actually doing? One thing to note, Search Console is still free, but you are going to have to create a separate login to access the information there. So just a consumer tidbit for you there, and you can get to it at g.co/Search Console. Now, the other side of that is Google Analytics. The flip side is Analytics shows you what consumers are doing, or what people are doing when they are on your website. What activity are they following? And it's analytics data. So it really shows you the strengths and weaknesses of your website based on your visitors' information, right? So Google offers this free tool called Google Analytics. It is a huge suite of customizable reports that answer questions about the effectiveness. So things you're going to be able to learn through this is, what pages are people actually looking at? What are they actually watching? What are they viewing? How long did they watch that video? If you have a 30-second video that took you weeks and thousands of dollars to produce, hopefully not. We all have iPhones in our hands and can do a lot of this on our own, right? Or Droids. But if you have that and you spent a lot of time and effort into producing it, and people are only watching the first 10 seconds, well, wow, that video is not as effective maybe as you were hoping it would be. You can see how much time people are spending. You can see where they're located. So geographic information, lots of demographic information. You can see if they're on a mobile device or if they're on a computer. If you advertise with Google, also your data from your ads campaign will also integrate into your analytics, so you can measure the effectiveness of your campaigns there. If you have an e-commerce site, one of the best things to do is to watch analytics to find out where they're abandoning you in your shopping cart. We see a huge drop off when people are actually selling online. And where do the conversions fall off? Well, it often falls when there's too many questions or too many form fields to fill out in a checkout. So make it as simple as possible if you have an e-commerce site for people to check out. Those are just some of my favorite tools that are out there. Again, all free of charge, and good sources of information for you guys when you're making decisions about your digital marketing. Next, I want to talk about email marketing. I did spend a good chunk of time working for Constant Contact. Mentioned that in my intro, and most of this information is still the same. Email marketing remains to this day one of the best returns on investment in terms of marketing spend for businesses. And just some quick tips to make your email marketing better. Clear subject lines. Industry standard says 5 to 7 words. I say try and go 3 to 5. The shorter the better. Think about how fast you're opening email and how quick you have to, you have a very small amount of time to get your readers' interest and say, oh, I want to open that from Susan. She's got great information every week, right? So clear subject lines. Emojis or emoticons are fine in a subject line. However, please be cautious when you use them, especially if you're going to use more than one. I've seen many instances where those that are doing the emails clearly don't understand street language, if you will. And multiple emojis sometimes have different alternate meanings. So you want to be very cautious if you're doing that. Make sure that it's actually related to your subject line and the content within the email. Again, your call to action right at the top. So whether it's your sale, your phone number, it's an event information, right? So a buy tickets here kind of thing. Your mobile design, just as important in your email as it is for your website. Keep your information clear, make it simple. Consumers, there's a report that came out a couple of years ago now, and I just read it, basically the same thing again. I thought, man, people are just getting into this, but it's really important. Consumers would rather receive more email from you with less content then less email frequency, right? If you will, with more content in it, meaning don't send an email once a month that would have 8 pages worth of content. It's too much, and it's too much for a consumer to consume and also to take action on. They would rather receive one email a week that only had like 2 items in it, and you could have all of that information covered. They're more likely to take action when it's very focused. Correct spelling and grammar. I had someone forward me an email yesterday that was really shocking. It was a Get Ahead series that an organization is hosting, and it's essentially exactly this, right? Webinar opportunities for their membership. It was not a Chamber of Commerce, and thankfully not in Michigan either. Someone had forwarded it to me and said, man, I feel like they should have attended one of your classes. And they're correct, because the Get Ahead series left out a key letter in the subject line of the email, and so it should have read Get Ahead ! Take action, and it left out a letter. It's important, so please double check everything. The other thing on email that I think a lot of people don't know, here's an insider little tip: don't ever use the word specialist. It will land you in spam every single time. There is a word hidden within specialist. Specialist is a great word, but not for email, for this reason, because if you took off the SPE on the front and the T on the end, there's a word in the middle called Cialis. If you don't know what that is, that's an entirely another class, but it will land you in junk every single time. Lots and lots of things to just make sure you're checking on everything web related, anything digital marketing related. I can't stress to you enough the importance of another set of eyes in looking at it and testing on all the links that you send. And listen, that is my number one thing that I am bad about, is link testing. I now have someone that I send most of my things to, unless it's something that's got to go out right now, to check first. And I did that the other day. I sent out an email that had a whole bunch of links in it, and not a single one of them worked. Wow, they were all broken links. That's fantastic. Someone called me, caught it. I had it fixed in 15 minutes. Hopefully nobody else realized it by the time they opened the email. And I was very thankful for that phone call. So just some things on email marketing. Social media, always a big thing, especially in our web presence. I'm not going to really talk about any specific channel unless there are specific questions about it. But there's some basics that go along with social media marketing. I used to teach boot camps on social media, and I put all my great stuff onto one slide for you. Your content should be funny and entertaining and engaging. Think of why you go onto social media and apply that same principle to your own strategy for content when it comes to social media marketing. You go on when you're sitting in the doctor's office waiting for your appointment, or getting your oil changed, or late at night when you're just calming down, or maybe at the beginning of the day, right? There's different components to it. You're looking for entertainment. You're looking for something to get you going and to get involved with. And that's what your consumers are looking for too. So there's a formula that's kind of tried and true that I've been recommending for years. It's the same one that I use over and over, and it really doesn't matter what industry you're in. There's a 50-30-20 formula that I'm going to share. 50% of what you post, and I would say all platforms this would apply except for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is professional and really, it's your thought leadership, and that's where it should stay. But all of the others, 50% of what you post, entertaining, engaging, maybe more motivational or inspirational if that's more applicable to your business. But 50% should fall under that bucket. 30% of what you post should be related to your business or your products or your industry, but not about you. Only 20% of what you post should be about you. Because I know you know this, but I think we forget about it when we're marketing our own business. I don't want to be sold to all the time. As a consumer, if I'm following someone and all it is this sale and that sale and that sale and buy now and sign up here, it's a constant ask. That's not what I'm looking for in social media. I'm looking for a chance to engage and maybe learn a little bit more and get a feel for the brand as a whole, right? And get your personality. This is your window to get your personality and connect with customers. And if you're constantly selling to them, You're less likely to have a connection. Make a connection based on common interests. So that related to you section, let's say you were a landscaper, maybe you would be posting things about don't forget to aerate your lawn this time of year, or how to get rid of grubs, or maybe it's components to your business that you just don't want to do, right? That'd be a good thing to tell people how to do it on their own there. And then only 20% of the time would actually be, hey, I can deliver mulch to you, right? Or whatever those other pieces are. So take advantage of this opportunity of social media to connect with your prospects and your customers at times that matter to them. The other thing is being intentional about what you post and visually appearing. Photos and videos get so much more traction than just words in social media. And in fact, most of our social media sites that are newer and that are gaining bigger and bigger audiences and activity are all visual based social media channels. So just something to think about when you're doing that. All right, let me hit pause here. And Colleen, do we have any questions so far before I dive into this last section?
We do, yes. We have a couple questions that came through related to updating your content on your website.
Okay.
So the first one is, how much change equals updating content? And I think we might have covered that.
We did a little bit. There's really no rule of thumb. I mean, you need to go in and change more than a punctuation mark, right? It can't be something really simple, but it doesn't also have to be a major change. So somewhere in the middle, a new photo, a new video upload. If you have an RSS feed, like if you have a blog and you post your blog to your website every time it goes up, that's a great way to get cross functionality in SEO search. It's really powerful actually with blogging. Lots of different ways that you can do it, but it needs to not be minor, but it doesn't have to be major.
Okay, great. And then another question along these lines is, where should you be updating on your website? Is it just your homepage specifically, or the different tabs? Like, what is the main point that you should be updating?
Personally, well, let me say this. Technically, in the official capacity, there's no rule of thumb. It's kind of all pages supposedly are equal, but I will tell you that I think the homepage carries more weight. That's my own, that's a personal feeling on that. And I also think that it's the one that most people go to first. So I think that if you have just a completely stagnant page that stays the same every single time, although there's comfort in that because then I know where I'm going, you don't want to change your homepage so much that you're confusing your return visitors in terms of making it harder for them to find the information. But at the same time, I think if it's the exact same every single time, it's like, wow, do they ever update anything? Even though the content might be different, it doesn't look different and have you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then in terms of like what pages, it's just as important that you have fresh content. What you don't want to do is update the same page over and over and over and over, because then the other pages, remember those pages are all part of your book, right? And your book goes into the system. So it is important to update all of your pages on a regular basis, but no true rule of thumb as to which ones are more important. Just kind of do it on a rolling method. It would be my suggestion.
Great. And then where do you go to specifically rotate photos that you mentioned?
Rotating photos. So like in a gallery view?
I would, maybe, Barb, want to elaborate? Let's see.
I can kind of, I'm guessing this is all in the SEO section. To rotate photos or to change a photo, where you would go to do that, you would log into your website control panel, if you will, and they're all a little bit different depending on what kind of website platform you're using. But you would go into the back end, like where you would go to make any kind of an update for your website, and then go, most of them are called a gallery section or a library section for your photos, or maybe you have an image section in there, and then you can edit them and make changes.
Okay. Yeah, she said it was with rotating the photos weekly. So it could be that, or just rotating photos on your website too.
Sure. I mean, so you can have like a gallery scroll, if you will, so that if I'm on, abc.com and there are 3 pictures that kind of show for 5 seconds each and then it pops to a different one, that doesn't count as fresh content. And I think she's talking more about the content in terms of changing photos. And that's where you would go to the back end of your website to upload new photos, just change them out on a regular basis.
All right. Okay, we have another question. I know you just briefly touched on blogs and the RSS feed. So can you explain that point just a bit more and, the importance of blogs and just having that extra content?
Sure. So blogging essentially can act like its own website for you. And the content component is the keyword piece in blogs. That's what really drives it. Blogging is great because of a couple of different things. One, it's easily postable to many different places. So you go in and write a blog about, I don't know, asphalt repaving, as I'm looking at my driveway that needs to get redone in the spring. And you're doing all sorts of things. You're using the technical terms that are industry based. You're probably, if you're doing it right for consumers, you're talking about the process and putting it into layman's terms, if you will. And then you're posting it on your blog. So what is that? Why is that important? Well, because you're creating thought leadership, right? It shows that you have initiative and you have information that is readily available to you because it's your profession. It's where you are, this is your bread and butter. This is your knowledge base. But I don't have that because it's not what I do. So take information that's readily available to you, whether it's your own or whether it's from an industry association that you belong to or your chamber of commerce or another resource for that matter. And you're going through and cultivating that content, putting it out there for the consumer that is your potential customer, hopefully, right? And then putting it out there on the web. It helps you stand out. It gives you credibility. It gives you thought leadership presence. But then when you tie that into your website, and probably into your social media as well. No good blogging if you're not going to post about it on social media because those two also go hand in hand. But your blogs provide new, fresh content to your website. So that SEO component. But as I mentioned, blogs are also basically standalone websites. So you're really getting a double bang for your buck when it comes to SEO because someone might find your blog and then when they click on your blog, it's taking them to their website. So you're naturally feeding the cycle of getting your consumers to stay with you on their journey online.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a blog here at the Chamber, and it's great to have all the different platforms that you can share that information and content out. So I definitely recommend people looking into doing blogs. I think
Absolutely.
that is all the questions we have.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go through this next section real quick, and then we'll stop again for questions at the end because we're almost there. So let's talk about online advertising. And there's a couple of different components that come with the ads. But before you really dive in, I want you to know where your ads can actually appear. So ads created with Smart Campaigns, and Smart Campaigns is the newest Google component to Google Ads for small businesses specifically. Very specific for this, and it's great. So you can be on either the search network or the display network. And I want to give you a differential between those two. So the search network is a group of search-related websites and apps. So it's apps too, it's not just websites. And your ad can appear wherever people are searching for products or services that you are promoting. So the network would include things like google.com, it would include Google Maps, Google Play, and then any other ads or apps, that are there and allow you to publish ads. And the display network is a little bit different. It's a large group of websites and apps over there too that allows Google to show ads. So they can reach people earlier in the buying cycle, if you will, and they're going to appear alongside content that's related to your business. I know you guys have all seen these kinds of ads because you're like, oh, they're tracking. They know what I'm doing. They know that I was looking at that pair of ruby red shoes from The Wizard of Oz last night. And oh, lo and behold, look what pops up on today's display, right? Here you go. So this is also going to include YouTube video advertising. It's looking at email and Gmail accounts, again, apps, all sorts of things. So ads on the display network can also show your images. So you want to make sure that your images are really good. And they may be your images from your Google business listing or your profile, right? So Smart Campaigns will allow you to do ads in either section, and I'm going to help you walk through how to get that set up and figure it out what you want to do. So again, super designed for small businesses. It's very flexible. Smart Campaigns allow you to pick your goal, to pick your content, And hopefully you're going to get everything that you need from there. There's no contract, there's no minimum commitment, there's no startup fee, there's no cancellation fee. You can control when and where the ads go and on your own budget. It's a pretty straightforward process, and there's a lot of smart technology involved in it. So I just want to walk you through real quick what it would look like. First, you would log into your Google Ads account. If you don't have one, you can click Start Now and you'll get taken through all the steps. And then once you've got it set up, you'll get into your next step, which is plugging in your business name and your URL. Then we're going to go into the goals. Now you're going to have 3 options when you get to this section. It can be either call your business, visit your location, or take action on your website. So let me break those down just a touch for you. You want someone to call your business if you know that you're going to close the deal on the phone, right? Again, maybe it's that plumber, maybe it's the yoga studio that you've seen me use as an example through this presentation. She knows that if she can get someone to call her business, she's 70% more likely to have them sign up for a class than if they just are looking for information online. So she does the call thing. One thing to note on the call option, if you're trying to get people to call you, don't run your ads at times when your business isn't open to answer the phone. That's the #1 error I see with this kind of ad out there, is that people are like, oh, I'm going to publish this at 11 o'clock at night because that's when all of these moms are going to do their scrolling, right? Well, wrong, because if you're running an ad for someone to call you and I'm the mom and I get the ad and I call you, you're not open. And so I get your voicemail or your answering machine, not so much. So make sure that you're running the ads at the time when you're actually available to answer the phone. So you want to do that. And the great thing too about these calls is that you can also, you'll want to track the calls using a forwarding number. You can do that here too. I know a lot of businesses still use that old school marketing thing. It's really great for appointment-based businesses. I would say that. So like home repair, pet sitting, beauty salons, yoga studios, plumbers, you get the picture. The second one, visiting your physical location. If you want people to come to your location without necessarily talking to you first, this is probably where you want to go. And this is often the ad type that you want to run if your first interaction with your audience is usually at your physical location. So these are things for like a retail store or a showroom, a coffee shop. This is going to help you connect online with an offline marketing action, right? So make those connections there. And then the third option, get more signups or take action on your website. If most of your business is conducted online, or if you want your customers to complete an action online. So if you want me to sign up for something or you want me to buy something online, that's your choice there. Your next step is going to be choosing the areas where your ads can show. You'll see a couple of options for choosing where it can appear. Your first option is that you can specify a radius around your business location. So I just want to be, I'm Joe Plumber, and I'm not going to drive more than 50 miles. I almost said feet, and that was really silly. Around my business. So I selected at 50. I slide that little radius bar. And then the other option is selecting very specific areas. So if you work in a region or a county or a city, this might be the way that you go. So you can see here where it's selected and highlighted and in color. You can adjust your range. You just look at the top corner to figure out how many people are in that area. And then how do you make the decision as to which option to choose? Well, it really depends on your business. So if you're advertising a business with local clientele, you're going to choose more of a radius option. If you're advertising for a business that sells something or services beyond a local area, then you might want to expand the audience using the other option. So audience is really key when you're selecting this feature and figuring out which one works for you. And again, I want to remind you that as the account owner, you can go in and change it whenever you want. So if you try it one way and it doesn't seem to be working, go make a change. Try something else. That's the best piece from digital marketing as a whole that I can give you. So next you'll go in and choose your business category. That helps the system understand what customers you're trying to reach. And then you're not going to create a list of keywords, which is a little bit different than what most online advertising does. So most online advertising is going to work on a list of keywords. Smart Campaigns do not. Instead, this system automatically generates search phrases for you based on the information you plugged in. Talk about that in just a hot little second to give you a little more information. So now that you're creating your ad, a text ad on Google typically contains 3 headlines with 30 characters max each. Characters include punctuation and spaces. You get 2 description lines, 90 characters in those, and 1 URL. You want to make sure that you're choosing the website link that is most important and connected to the ad. For example, going back to those ruby red shoes I talked about, if you take me to erinsshoestore.com in your ad, and then I have to go dig through that Bad Country line dance that I talked about at the beginning to find the ruby red shoes, do you think I'm going to buy them? No, my chances are very slim at that point. If you take me directly to the page that has those red shoes, I'm most likely to buy because you're, whoo, look how quick and easy that was, as long as your online checkout is pretty simple as well, right? So make sure that you're using the most relevant website there. The next step is to set your budget. So you only pay for actual clicks and calls, if that's the way that you went, that your budget is set for, and you set your budget. So for example, you set your max budget at $300, but you only receive $200 worth of clicks, you only get charged the $200. So Google's going to give you recommended options, which is what you see here on the screen as that choice, but you can also enter your own budget. So if you want to do your own, you'll see that overlay there, you click on that, and that's where you'll get. And you can drag the slider to adjust it, and as you adjust it, you'll see the estimates for the people that you'll reach and what kind of spend you can expect to make. Again, you can adjust this at any time. Something happens, you're like, wow, this is fantastic, this ad's taking off, I want to do more, and you want to increase your budget, just log in and change it. If you've been running it and you're not seeing the results that you wanted, go in and turn it off or lower your budget. Whatever works for you. This is why Smart Campaigns is great, because it really puts the power in your hand. So the next step is to review and campaign and launch it. So you can, again, edit or pause at any time. You can check on your performance reports. I mentioned earlier that if you're running Google Ads, it will connect with your Google Analytics. This is true. You can remove irrelevant search phrases. So again, using my yoga studio example, she doesn't sell yoga mats. So she doesn't want yoga mats to show up in her ads. So she pulls that out. And then again, setting the times and days when your ad is eligible to appear will also help you, especially depending on what type of campaign you're running. Now, the last campaign type, one more kind of post that I want to talk about here are the video campaigns, because truthfully, this is where I think most advertisers are seeing huge bangs for their bucks, and it's because YouTube is fantastic. It's the second largest search engine. Of course, it's also our sister. So we love it, but it's really effective. And I know that you guys have all seen videos that have the ads on them, and I want to talk about those a little bit. First of all, I want you to think that they seem pretty sophisticated, but the setup is pretty straightforward. And so you can use videos direct from your own YouTube account if you have one, and you can tweak how they're targeted. So just a couple of things. There's 5 different available video ad formats, and I want to just kind of break through them real quick. The first is an in-stream ad, and this one runs either before, during, or after other videos on YouTube. So this is maybe also on the display network or in an app or in a game. And they can also run on YouTube videos that are embedded on other websites. These are the ones that after 5 seconds, the viewer can skip the ad. So you may sometimes hear in-stream ads interchanged with skippable ads. It's the same thing. The next is a video discovery ad, and these are the ones that appear on YouTube only. They're only in places where people can discover other content. So it's over on that right-hand panel. The third kind is an outstream ad, and these show on partner sites. So these ads are available on mobile devices and tablets too. but it's only on other partner sites. And then number 4 is the non-skippable in-stream ads. We have just the regular in-stream ad, which is skippable. Now you have a non-skippable. These are the ones that are 15 seconds or less, and as the label suggests, you can't skip it while you're the viewer. And then the last one is a bumper ad, and this is designed for brand awareness. So they're just 6 seconds or less. They can't be skipped. So just a quick little overview there to give you some more options. Again, I've got a ton of resources in here for you, even where you can learn more about advertising. So let me go ahead and wrap this up. Your next steps leaving today are to work on your website and make it search friendly, fill it with useful information, make sure that it loads quickly, and make sure that you like the way that it looks on all devices. Then I want you to take a look at some of those different tools, right? These are probably things that are going to help you with that website. You're going to work on Google My Business. You maybe use Test My Site, Search Console, Analytics. Maybe you look at Google Trends, which is something I didn't talk about. And then maybe advertising is your next step. And here is that page that has all of the resources here for you. I'm going to leave it here for just a second. And then I'm going to skip forward to show you the rest of the resources. And then I'll come back to this while we do more Q&A. So Google Primer, this is an app that's available free, Google Play, App Store, it doesn't matter. It's quick marketing lessons that are less than 5 minutes each. Skillshop is where you can go to get more in-depth training. It used to be called Academy for Ads. It's a one-stop center for everyone that uses professional Google tools. So training on Google Ads, Google Analytics, Google My Business, lots more in there. The next one is the videos. So this is where you get quick help. You're going to learn things like how to get your business listed on Google Search and Maps, how to create a YouTube channel, but it's all video-based learning. You can go to quick help for that. And one more site is the Grow with Google partner site. This is where we have all of our information. This is the team that I work for. We work with job seekers, teachers, small business owners, startups, developers. There's tons of information in there. And that is officially the end of the presentation. So Colleen, if there's more questions, I'm going to go back to that website slide because that's the one that most people ask for over and over. Again, that last one on the bottom of my website is where you're going to find more upcoming webinars. I tend to go about 3 months in advance. So right now I've got more sessions listed through kind of middle of December.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Erin. It does not look like we have any wrap-up questions here. So I just want to thank you again for joining us today and for sharing your expertise and knowledge with us all. And, you know, one of our core values here at the Chamber is learn, innovate, share. And so I think people had some great takeaways here that they can go and take back to their businesses. So thank you again. And we look forward to our next session with you that will be in November. So be on the lookout for that, everyone, as Erin will be back for some more great stuff. So thank you all again and have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.